Hey, what's up, guys? It's Austin Westover Libertarian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how the Communist Party has been planning to take over the United States of America since at least 1963. All of the information that I'm going to be talking about in this video is actually sourced from an official government document, and if you watch all the way through, I'm going to give you the source of that document so you can read and confirm for yourself. The point of the matter is the Communist Party has been planning to take over America since at least 1963. They've probably been planning it a lot longer, and we desperately need to wake up our fellow Americans, and we need to share this information among all of the patriots in this great country. If you're a freedom-loving American, you need to share this video, and you need to watch it all the way through. Are you ready for the biggest bombshell of your life? Well, let's dive in. Current communist goals. Extension of remarks of Han A.S. Herlong Jr. of Florida in the House of Representatives, Thursday, January 10th, 1963. The Communist Party had 45 goals that they wanted to achieve to take over the great United States. All of this information is coming from an official government document from 1963. Let's dive into those goals, shall we? Number one, U.S. acceptance of coexistence as the only alternative to atomic war. Number two, U.S. willingness to capitulate in preference to engaging in atomic war. Number three, and this is where it starts to get increasingly more disturbing, develop the illusion that total disarmament by the United States would be a demonstration of moral strength. What do they mean by that? To me, in my opinion, from what I perceive, that's referring to taking our guns. That is referring to the gun legislation, the gun-grabbing politicians, and all of them. So what happened in 1968? Let's talk about that. The Gun Control Act of 1968 is what happened. And what did that do? The Gun Control Act of 1968 is a U.S. federal law that regulates the firearms industry and the firearms owners. It primarily focuses on regulating interstate commerce and firearms by generally prohibiting interstate firearm transfers except among licensed manufacturers, dealers, and importers. Now let's dive into more of these goals. Goal number 4, permit free trade between all nations, regardless of communist affiliation and regardless of whether or not items can be used for war. Fifth goal, extension of long-term loans to Russia and Soviet satellites. Sixth goal, and this is where it gets increasingly disturbing, provide American aid to all nations, regardless of communist denomination. And we're already seeing that. What big party does the United States seem to be a part of? The United Nations. Who else seems to be a part of the United Nations? Communist China, Communist Vietnam, Russia, that was communist until 1991, but now calls themselves socialist, but in my opinion, it's basically the same thing. So not only did the Communist Party have these goals, but they succeeded in these goals, and that's where it becomes increasingly more and more alarming. And as this video continues, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to shock you. Goal number 7, grant recognition of Red China, admission of Red China to the United Nations. Just look at that. Another one of the goals of the Communist Party that was successful. Communist China did become part of the United Nations and still is part of the United Nations. Goal number 8, set up East and West Germany as separate nations. Goal number 9, prolong the conferences to ban atomic tests because the United States has agreed to suspend tests as long as negotiations are in progress. What does goal number 9 mean? That means they wanted us to be behind on developing atomic weapons when our neighbors and our enemies were developing atomic weapons. They knew that as long as we continued negotiating, the United States would not be developing atomic weapons while their communist enemies continue to do so. Alarming. Goal number 10, allow all Soviet satellites individual representation in the United Nations. And goal number 11, that's where we start diving in to their goal for a new world order. Their goal number 11 is possibly one of the most alarming goals out of all 45 of them. Let's dive right into it. Promote the United Nations as the only hope for mankind. If its charter is rewritten, demand it be set as a one world government with its own independent armed forces. Some communist leaders believe that the world can be taken over as easily by the United Nations as by Moscow. Sometimes these two centers compete with each other as they are now doing in the Congo. According to their goal number 11, they intended for the United Nations to act as a one world government and the New World Order. If that doesn't disturb you, I don't know what will. There's actually more in their goals that's actually more disturbing than that. So let's get right on into that. Goal number 12, resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party. Isn't that ironic? If you're a malevolent, evil person trying to take over the world, God forbid anyone make it illegal for you to try to do that. They wouldn't want that, right? All right, so goal number 13, do away with all loyalty oaths. And this is speculation, in my opinion, on what that might mean. So in goal number 13, they say do away with all loyalty oaths. What can that mean? We're already seeing it in a lot of our schools across the country right now. We're already seeing it in so many places across the country. We're seeing liberals pushing this. We're seeing bureaucrats and politicians pushing this. In schools, they're trying to remove God from the Pledge of Allegiance. That sounds like a loyalty oath. I feel like the Pledge of Allegiance is a loyalty oath. And so many schools across the country, and even period, they're trying to remove God from the Pledge of Allegiance. They're trying to make it to where you can't say, I pledge allegiance under God. They don't want you to be able to say that. Isn't that alarming to you? Goal number 14. Continue giving Russia access to the U.S. Patent Office. Well, of course they'd want to do that, right? Goal number 15, and another very alarming goal of the Communist Party, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. What could that mean? Capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. That means they were actively working on infiltrating the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. How successful they were on either of those parties is to be debatable. That's I'll leave that up to your own speculation, but it was a goal of the Communist Party to capture one or both of the political parties in the United States. Number 16, use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. Goal number 17, and a very, very disturbing one. This should, everyone that's a parent out there, this should deeply, deeply disturb you. Goal number 17, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teacher associations. Put the party line in textbooks. They've been targeting our children, guys. Why do you think all of the young kids love people like Bernie Sanders? Why do you think all of the young kids love socialism? Why do you think all of the young kids think communist and socialist ideas and economies and governments are the solution to their problems, even though all the evidence shows them that they're not? But the problem is the schools are not showing these children the evidence that communist systems and socialist systems do not work. The schools aren't showing them that. So I'm just going to repeat it. It's so disturbing. Goal number 17 of the Communist Party, get control of the schools, use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda, soften the curriculum, get control of teachers associations, put the party line in textbooks. This is why all of our young kids lean to the left. This is why all of our young kids love people like Bernie Sanders. And this is why all of our young kids are begging for socialism. This is all by design. This is all by design. It was planned to happen this way. It was planned to happen this way, guys. And that should disturb you. And you should definitely share this message to everyone you know. Goal number 18 of the Communist Party, gain control of all student newspapers. Again, they're targeting the children. They've been targeting the children for so long, guys. The Communist Party understood that they didn't have to take over modern day America. What they had to do was take over the future of America. And they understood that our children are our future. And that's why they continued to target our children again and again and again. Again, goal number 18, gain control of all student newspapers. It's in black and white. Goal number 19, use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack. What are we seeing in our country right now, guys? What are we seeing in our country right now? Again, goal number 19, use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attacks. So we see businesses being razed to the ground all over America right now. We see organizations claiming to be Marxist organizations that are burning down businesses that had nothing to do with anything. We need to understand that this is a war on capitalism. A lot of this is it is a full-on war against capitalism, and that's why they're using protests and riots to burn down businesses because they want to destroy capitalism. Goal number 20 of the Communist Party, infiltrate the press, get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, policy making positions. Goal number 21, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. In 1983, 90% of all media was owned by 50 companies. We have since seen a large monopolization of media. Now, 90% of all media is owned by 6 companies. Those 6 companies are as followed: Comcast, News Corp, Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, and CBS. So you already know it was the Communist Party's goal to take over the media, the press, and the television. So why does it always seem like mainstream media always has an agenda? Like they always have this narrative that they're pushing. And that narrative that they're pushing always imminently results in you sacrificing and losing more and more and more of your freedom. As I said, it was planned, guys. This is all by design. The Communist Party had plans and, in my opinion, succeeded in taking over the 90% of mainstream media. I mean, who do we got left that mainstream media that isn't pushing the same narrative? Like Fox News, is that it? Goal number 22 of the Communist Party, continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms. Goal number 23, control art critics and directors of art museum. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, and meaningless art. Goal number 24 of the Communist Party, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. Goal number 25 of the Communist Party, break down cultural standards or morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. What do we continue to see on our TVs, guys? What do we continue to see on our TV? Our TVs are sexualizing children, and it's deeply disturbing to me personally, seeing our TV sexualize children time and time again, and it gets worse and worse and worse. I really believe this is what the Communist Party was talking about by breaking down American standards and breaking down our culture. They wanted to push and promote porn. They wanted to push and promote obscenity, and they wanted to destroy our culture entirely and destroy us from within. Goal number 26 of the Communist Party, present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. Goal number 27 of the Communist Party, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. Diving into goal number 27 of the Communist Party, is very obvious that they wanted to discredit the Christian church. They wanted to discredit the Christian faith. And at the time that they had planned this, Christianity was enormous in the United States. I mean, it still is enormous in the United States. Christianity is part of much of American culture, and this is, again, another cultural attack on the American people from the Communist Party. And we see it all the time that they are trying to discredit God, they're trying to discredit religion, they're trying to discredit the church all of the time. Believe in science, believe in science, believe in science, don't believe in God. That's the repetitive rhetoric that we're told time and time and time again. Goal number 28 of the Communist Party, eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the ground that it violates the principles of separation of church and state. Number 29, and this is where it gets really disturbing as well, and I'm really going to dive into this one. Number 29, discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, and hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. We see this all the time. We hear it all, especially when we're talking about the Second Amendment. You don't need a semi-automatic rifle. You don't need an assault weapon. Our founding fathers didn't have semi-automatic rifles. They had muskets. The Constitution was written in a different day and age. It doesn't mean what it says. It means something different. It applied to the times back then. You don't need an AR-15. You don't need an AK-47. That was only written to protect muskets. We see it all the time. They're trying to discredit our Constitution, our sacred Constitution. They're trying to dictate what it means and what it does not mean. We're seeing attacks on our constitutional rights on a daily basis in our nation. Goal number 30 of the Communist Party: discredit the American founding fathers, present them as selfish aristocrats that had no concern for the common man. This proves that the Communist Party has no respect for our nation. They have no respect for how our nation was started, and they have no respect for our founding fathers. They have no respect for our way of life. They have no respect for our liberties, and they have no respect for our freedoms. Their only goal of the Communist Party is to take over the United States through means of infiltration and destroy everything it was built on, destroy everything it was founded for and everything that it means. They do not care about freedom. They want to control you. And that is what they're actively trying to do every single day. And we must fight back. Goal number 31 of the Communist Party: belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only part of the big picture. Give more emphasis on Russian history since the communists took over. Again, why do all of our kids love Bernie Sanders? Why are all of the kids leaning to the left? Because they're not being shown how bad communism is in other countries. They're not being shown how bad socialism is in other countries. Again, it's all part of design. It was all planned to be this way. It's time to wake up. Goal number 32 of the Communist Party: support any socialist movement to give centralized control over to any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. Hey, Bernie Sanders, I'm going to call you out again as I dive into number 32, goal number 32 of the Communist Party. You supported socialist welfare programs. You supported Medicare for all at the cost of all Americans. And you openly supported socialism left and right. You are a prime example of what a communist infiltrator in the United States of America looks like. And you should be held for treason. And after you get done watching this video, don't forget to Google all of Bernie Sanders' trips to Russia. The evidence is overwhelming. In my opinion, he is undoubtedly a communist infiltrator. Goal number 33 of the Communist Party: eliminate all laws or procedures which interfere with the operation of the communist apparatus. Goal number 34 of the Communist Party: eliminate the House Committee on Un-American Activities. Goal number 35 of the Communist Party: discredit and eventually dismantle the FBI. I mean, in my opinion, if their goal is to at least discredit the FBI, they're already doing a hell of a job on that. I personally can't help but wonder why there's so many pedophiles that are often in big places of government that are not being busted. I, for one, can't help but wonder why there's so many elitist pedophiles in our country that are multi-billionaires and often in high-ranking positions of government, and why the FBI is doing absolutely nothing about it, and why all of these pedophiles aren't getting busted. So, in my opinion, they've already done a decent job of discrediting the FBI because of that very reason. Carrying on, goal number 36 of the Communist Party: infiltrate and gain control of more unions. And this one I have to ask, with the wording there, number 36, infiltrate and gain control of more unions. What does that mean? Does that suggest that they've already gained control of some unions, but they want to gain control of more unions? That's how I take that. Goal number 37 of the Communist Party: infiltrate and gain control of big business. What could they be referring there to? The monopolization of media, Facebook, Twitter. Goal number 38 of the Communist Party: transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat. And we're seeing this all the time with everyone that wants to completely abolish and remove all of the police force. We're seeing this all the time with everyone that's saying, we don't need the police to handle this. These people are mentally ill. They have a psychiatric problem that only a psychiatrist can diagnose and treat. We don't need police to handle these issues. We need psychiatric therapists to handle these issues. We're seeing this unfold all the time in the current events of America. And remember, all of this has been being planned since at least 1963. This is all by design. It was all planned, and we're seeing it unfold before our very own eyes. Goal 39 of the Communist Party: dominate the psychiatric profession and use mental health laws as a means of gaining coercive control over those who oppose communist goals. And how does goal number 39 of the Communist Party relate to modern day America? Well, I'm about to tell you. We see it all the time with liberals wanting to pass what they call common sense gun laws. And me personally, as a libertarian, I don't believe any law is a common sense gun law. We look at the Second Amendment, it says what it means in black and white completely. So if they gain, which they're trying to do, and in my opinion have been very successful at doing, if they gain control of the psychiatric profession, they can then pass their quote unquote common sense gun laws, making it to where it is illegal for anyone that is deemed psychologically and mentally unfit to be allowed to own a gun. So this whole idea is a complete loophole to stomp on your Second Amendment right to carry and bear arms. Goal number 40 of the Communist Party: discredit the family as an institution, encourage promiscuity, and easy divorce. Goal number 41 of the Communist Party: emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. Attribute prejudices, mental blocks, and retarding of children to suppressive influence of parents. Again, attacking the children, wanting to take control of the children, because the Communist Party understood that children are our future. If they can gain control of our children, therefore they gain control of our future. Goal number 42 of the Communist Party: create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition, that students and special interest groups should rise up and use united force to solve economic, political, or social problems. We're seeing this in modern day history with the Marxist organization burning businesses down and razing cities to the ground. That is their violent insurrection. Goal number 43 of the Communist Party: overthrow all colonial governments before native populations are ready for self-government. Goal number 44 of the Communist Party: internationalize the Panama Canal. Goal number 45 of the Communist Party: repeal the colony reservation so the United States cannot prevent the World Court from seizing jurisdiction over domestic problems. Give the World Court jurisdiction over nations and individuals alike. Again, goal number 45: United Nations, one world government, new world order. That is the Communist Party. And before I give you the source of all of this information so you can find it yourself, I would first like to ask you to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down in the comment sections, and subscribe to my new channel. It would mean a lot to me. Also, before I give you the source information to all of this information that I just gave you, I'd like to add a special disclosure. I'm not depressed. I don't plan on killing myself. I don't do drugs. I'm not going to overdose and die. I'm not into racing fast cars. I'm not going to get in a car wreck and die. If they tell you that I killed myself, they're absolutely lying to you. If they tell you that I overdosed, they're also absolutely lying to you. If you'd like to find all of this information on your own, you can Google Communist Goals 1963, Congressional Records, Appendix PP, A34 through A35, January 10th, 1963. I'm also going to leave a source link down in the description of this YouTube video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you share this video to all of your friends as fast as you can before YouTube deletes it.